Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. Your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform. Reach out to me directly for pricing. Email tmosso@thewatchbox.com. Today, we're discussing a 250-piece limited edition launched in late 2016 for the 2017 model year. This is the white gold IWC Big Pilot's Watch Annual Calendar Edition Le Petit Prince, a timepiece, reference 5027-03, that celebrates the most famous character created by pilot and writer Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. And of course, this watch is big. It's a big pilot's watch. It's 46.2 millimeters in diameter, 15.5 millimeters thick, and from lug tip to lug tip, 55.9 millimeters, with a 22 millimeter spacing between the lugs. Fun fact: the original Big Pilot's watch, launched in 2002, was a tribute to the wartime BR built by IWC and several others for the German Luftwaffe. And of course, this watch is dedicated to the memory of a pilot who flew against the Germans, so IWC, in typical Swiss fashion, hedging its bets. Now, the timepiece is substantial, and you can see on my wrist, probably a bit too big for my 16 centimeter circumference forearm. The lugs do overlap the edge of my wrist, and you can see that well from over the top, but also down the barrel here. It's not as thick as you might think. For something this complicated and this large, 15.5 isn't bad, but I recommend that you have a wrist of at least 17 centimeters circumference to wear this watch with any sense of proportion. And note, it will sit, it will fit, it will sit securely and safely and not rotate on my wrist. I just think proportionally you need a bigger wrist. The strap is one of the guilty pleasures of the Big Pilot's watch, a watch that is all about excess. Here we have a strap that is massive in cross-section with many layers of leather. You can see it's calfskin, brown on the top with an off-white contrasting semi-aged stitch, and then it's more calfskin on the bottom. It has two steel bolts on each side, as the original would have been riveted together. And you can see even the finishing of these is handsome, with polish on their sides and then satination on their tops. The case is surprisingly elegant, as the lugs are integrated into the case band and come to a tapered point with a handsome polished transitional bevel that flares at the end of the lugs. We have a crown that is onion style, screw down, and over 10 millimeters in diameter in its own right. The watch is 60 meters water resistant, which makes it surface swimmable, as long as you put it on a more water-resistant strap. Now, it has a clasp, full clasp in white gold, that is polished and satinated externally, and then polished and media blasted internally. So you will be happy to have this, as it will help protect against accidentally dropping this large, heavy, and valuable watch. The case and the bezel are mostly in silver satin, and then you can see that white gold color here a little bit darker than it would be on something blindingly rhodium plated. This is gray gold, an 18-karat white alloy that's white all the way through and never needs to be plated. So it's not as brilliantly bright as rhodium plated white gold, but it is more durable and never needs to be plated. We have the bezel set in from the case back to pair the visual mass of the watch, and then the lip of the bezel as it abuts the sapphire has been polished. The dial is blue with a sunburst metallic pattern, and there are two different Saint-Exupéry watch series. Launched in 2008, IWC has always produced the Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, which has a brown bronze sunburst dial, and then Petit Prince. They are, of course, related, but Petit Prince features the blue dial, and that's what we have here. A feature that's upscale and sometimes unique to these upscale special edition Big Pilots: applique indices and numerals. These watches, characteristically in series production, tend to have transferred or flat non-applique numerals and indices. You could see that everything here is white on blue. We have sunken sub-registers with an azurage or concentric pattern. All hands are broadsword style. Now, the watch has a few subsidiary setting modes. You can see we have hacking seconds. I've stopped the seconds hand. We also have a power reserve indicator, 7 days, 168 hours, and it's automatic winding, but I can wind it manually if I wish to watch the power reserve indicator move. We have an aperture style annual calendar, and you know this because it says annual calendar. Take note, there is a quick set system. You have a quick set for the days, turn in the opposite direction, and you have a quick set for the date. Now, the quick set for the date also drives the months. So cycling through the 31 days, you will also drive the month indicator. Screw this back down. IWC promises that this watch has crystals and seals secured against explosive decompression in a cockpit. So if you are in that sort of situation, the watch will not discharge its crystals and its seals. That said, all bets are off if you are in those conditions. Your watch, momentarily at least, will be fine. 1 out of 250, 60 meters water resistant, and then we see the famous sovereign himself on his little planet or meteorite, and that's fairly true to the illustrations in the books. Now you can see we have a ceramic peloton winding system as invented by Albert Peloton in the late 40s and industrialized by IWC during the early 50s. It is a pawl-based winding system that's bidirectional, fairly rugged, and quite efficient. Its one flaw historically was that the pawl and wheel system could create dirt on the movement, but with the introduction of the ceramic peloton system on the newer versions of the 50,000 series movements, dirt on the movement is a thing of the past. Now you can see the entire movement has been blued, which is exceptional because this is rare. Even by IWC standards, this case back is particularly entertaining. Now, there's also a good deal of refinement. This 36 joule movement beats at 28,800 vibrations per hour, and it is one of the upgraded 52,000 series that has a skeletonized bridge over 2 barrels rather than the previous 1. The 2 barrels create a more even release of torque, and in addition to the higher beat rate from 21.6 to 28.8, the 52,000 series feature those 2 barrels, so the watch will not run super fast when fully wound, nor will it run super slow when mostly discharged. Of course, we also have an overcoil hairspring to help the watch keep even time in any physical position, and the movement is adjusted in the high horology and chronometer standard of 5 positions. It's also free sprung for durability, so IWC really pulling out all the stops with this movement, which remains one of the largest automatic winding movements in the world at approximately 37 millimeters in diameter, properly sized for an oversized watch. And the watch is well loomed. It is a sports watch after all. You will have no trouble navigating by night, at least where your watch is concerned. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details.